In the times I've been so fortunate to interview and chat with somebody like you or somebody on your status of Mount Rushmore like you, Joe Montana, I've talked to him about his famous drive in the Super Bowl to beat the Bengals, and how he mentioned he saw John Candy before he took the huddle. What was your mind like taking the huddle to start the drive, John?
Well, it's funny. That was, in Cleveland, and I mean, it was cold, and it'd been a battle the whole day, and we went down 20-13, and then we fumbled the kickoff, and so thank God we were on the open end in old Cleveland Municipal rather than in the dog pound. Otherwise, we'd have been getting killed with dog
Biscuits.
bones and those type of things.
Yeah,
But
right.
it was funny that we're sitting there, and the one thing that I remember about it was just we had 5 minutes to go. Was just saying, okay, let's get some room, let's get some operating room because we're on the 2-yard line, and so we got some operating room. But we're standing in the huddle before on a TV timeout, and our right guard Keith Bishop, who was a good friend of mine and a good buddy, and now still works for the Broncos. We're standing there and no one's kind of talking. We're just kind of thinking what we have to do. And then Bish finally looks at me. He says, Wood, he says, we got him right where we want him. And sure enough, he was dead right. And, and the thing is about that drive is once we got some room, we continued to pick up momentum, and that stadium kept getting quieter and quieter. Then when we picked up to 3rd and 17, we felt pretty good about where we were and we were able to get in. We still knew we had to score a touchdown, but, I think with 5 minutes to go, it wasn't something that we thought this was our last chance.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting some breathing room first. But then as we got the breathing room and then we got the momentum, and I think that momentum of scoring, right before the end of regulation, we had that going into OT and we're able to, win that game in OT.
John Elway here on the Rich Eisen Show. What was your first conversation with Mike Shanahan like? What was that like?
He was a young guy. Now, whether
Right.
it was he came in as, the quarterback coach in 1984, I grew to love him as a coach. Then he left a couple times, came back once, and then left again to the Niners. And then, there was nobody more thrilled when Mr. Bolin hired Mike to come back as a head coach, because I knew he's just coming off a Super Bowl win, been in San Francisco for 3 years, had great success there. Was so excited that I really felt like we had a chance to go back to, and compete for Super Bowls again. And so, I gave him a big hug when he came back, and we were able to get it done.
Okay. And so when did you know this was for real? Whose arrival was it? Whose drafting was it? Or even in the case of Rod Smith, obviously not drafted. Who was it, John? What do you think?
Well, I mean, other than Mike, I think the key addition for us was Terrell Davis. I mean, it was something that, and Mike, was a guy that, worked on the running game. And, we had the zone scheme, which really worked well. And we drafted Terrell in the 6th round, and, he got him. And Terrell was probably the guy that really kind of helped us turn the whole thing around to where now all of a sudden we were going to be able to be balanced on the offensive side. And then, and then Terrell came in, and, it's funny, Terrell, we were in preseason and we're over in Japan. We were playing a preseason game over in Japan. And Terrell was saying, he was like the 7th one on the depth chart and wasn't getting a lot of reps. And so he was like, man, I'm done with this. He went downstairs, tried to check out because he was going to go home to say he didn't want to play football. Mm-hmm. And thank God they couldn't understand him in Japan. They couldn't understand what he wanted. So he had to go back up to his room. The next day he plays in the game, and the special teams.
That's right.
Played a little bit running back, but in the special teams he ran down, made a big hit. And then guys started getting hurt. Terrell moved up the line fast. And then Mike went to him the first game and said, Terrell, you're going to be our starter. And then, that's when things really started to move forward for us.
So are you saying Terrell Davis might not be in the Hall of Fame and you might not have 2 rings if he was fluent in Japanese? Is that what you just told me, John?
Oh, yeah. We talk about that all the time. We talk about that all the time. It's like, thank God they could not understand you, and you hung in there and came back and played the game the next night. So, but yeah, that's a story that's one of those forks in the road.
Yep.
That we got lucky on the fork in the road, and positive circumstances helped us out quite a bit there.
Wow. In the couple minutes I have left with you, John, a couple more questions for you. You know, not to equate what I do for a living with what you did for a living as a player, but I'll see some old SportsCenter moments for me with hair, and I'm like, it doesn't even where I'm like, I don't recognize that person, right? Like, it's a different life. What is it like for you to watch that helicopter spin in the Super Bowl back now, whenever you see it, John?
You know, Rich, I will tell you this. It's like I still get emotional every time I see that, because I remember. And the funny thing about that play was I didn't like to play, and Mike knew I didn't like to play, and we talked about it. And he goes, I said, "What if we don't get this defense?" He says, "John, 100% of the time this whole year against this formation, we get this play and we get this coverage." And so, sure enough, we walk out and it's not that coverage. And I tried to get outside and tried to find somebody open and look for the first down, and I was able to turn it upfield. And I said, "Well, I'm going to put my big old 6-inch vertical on him and try to go over the top." But the thing that really sticks out to me is I remember looking at our sideline when I got up, because I full of adrenaline as well, and I looked at our sideline, and our sideline was going nuts. And so that feeling at that time, I still to this day, and even when I watch the Netflix show, it's like it still grabs me, because we'd worked so hard. It was my 15th year. We'd had those 3 disappointing losses, and in Colorado, and the Bronco fans so dearly wanted a Super Bowl victory, and so it is very emotional still when I watch that play.
And then, just while we're in the emotions right now and the feels, John, what were you stunned, surprised, taken aback when Pat Bowlen said, "This one's for John," and handed you the trophy, John?
I was, because I was felt a little bit, because I threw for 140 yards that game, but I think that learning, having lost 3 Super Bowls, and knowing how important it is to have a great football team, that to be able to win a Super Bowl, you have to have a great football team. But for him to kind of put me out there in front, it was obviously very, very nice and a great feeling. But I was also sitting there thinking, well, thank God I had those other 52 guys, because we couldn't have done it without each other.
And then you obviously had the opportunity to return the favor the next year. Was that off the top of your head, or you're like, if we win this, I'm going to say this one's for Pat? And
that was actually in Super Bowl 50 when we were in Santa Clara.
That's right. Okay.
And
right.
So, yeah, I was just thrilled.
Right.
I got the opportunity to say it back to him. And, and that's when Mr. Bowlen was starting to slide a little bit. So hopefully he remembered that and was able to appreciate that too.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app, 12 to 3 Eastern.